Your enemy is the version of you which doesn't take shit. Your enemy is the version of you which goes to the gym every single day. And if you've done this correctly, then what you should be doing by now is thinking of him permanently. Every single time you go to the gym and you haven't done that one extra rep, he did. Every single time you don't feel like doing something, you have to think, yeah, but he would do it. If you truly constructed him the way you should, he should be crossing your mind with every single thing you do. And this is why it's important to develop an ego. This is lesson 2 of the Iron Mind course, is to develop an ego. Egos are extremely important. Egos have always existed. Throughout ancient history, men, kings, went to war and millions of people died because someone insulted him, because of his ego. Egos are a natural human thing and they're extremely important. And the modern world tells men to not have an ego. And they do that because it makes you weak and easy to control. You can only have an iron mind if you are so sure of yourself, so egotistical that nobody can break it. So an ego is extremely important. Now, for the first lesson, we built your enemy, and we built this perfect person you're going to be battling against. And there's a very specific reason we did it based on a version of you. One, because it shows who you could be. But the other reason is also because if your ego is based around beating this person, you get to go through life and be a nice guy to everyone else. People say don't have an ego because they think that if they give you an ego or you have an ego, you're going to be egotistical to the people you meet. I'm a nice guy to everyone I meet because they're not my enemy. I'm not combating against them. I'm a nice guy to every person. I'm a nice guy to every woman. I say please and thank you. I'm a nice person, but I do have a massive ego. But my ego comes into play when I'm fighting against my enemy. Listen, did you fuck your wife yesterday? Maybe you did. So imagine this guy fucked your wife. He would have fucked her better than you did. And this should inspire your ego. The person you're battling against is beating you. And this person is who you could be. That's what's the most annoying thing about it. This person's outlifting you in the gym. They're making more money. They're fucking their wife better. They got more girls. They're rolling around a nicer car. This could be you, but it's not you. Only because you don't have the motivation to do what this individual does. Nothing to do with genetics, nothing to do with luck. This person is you and they're beating you. And this should inspire your ego. Most people's egos work against them. And the way it works against them is they feel entitled. They wake up and they think, oh, I deserve a nice car. I'm a special person. I deserve a nice car. And then when they don't get a nice car, they get disheartened and annoyed. That is not the right way to use an ego. An ego should be used as in, I deserve a nice car, so I'm going to go fucking get it. That's an ego. So this person who you've built, your enemy, he has a nice car because he has worked harder than you have. So he has a nice car and you don't have one. Whose fault is that? There should be no reason, no excuse for you to not do everything that you believe you need to do to be the best person you can be if you've properly created this enemy. You've looked at this list, 25 to 30 points long of everything this guy does. And you should look at that list and think, fuck, this is who I'm competing against. I need to start getting my shit together. And your ego should stop you from wanting to lose. Otherwise, day after day after day, you are losing to this individual. This individual is beating you day after day after day. You can't let that happen. Your ego is extremely important. And you only have one person you're competing against. And it's the person you created, which is nothing more than a better version of yourself. So day by day, you're losing this battle. And that should make you uncomfortable. It should make you nervous. It should make you anxious. So you start to feel that way, because this is the truth. If you've truly imagined who your enemy is, and you truly imagine them beating you, you should not be able to relax. The fact that you can still sit and watch TV means you need to go back to the first video of this course and start again. And do it properly, and do it well enough so that you can no longer sit still. You look at yourself in the mirror and go, okay, yeah, I've got some muscle, but this guy, he's got real muscle. I've got a little bit of money. This guy, he hustles nonstop. He's on Twitter nonstop. He's started businesses. He's learned how to make websites. He's trading crypto. He's got all of Tate's programs. He's got this. He's got that. You need to get your shit together. And if you do that properly, you'll start to feel nervous. You'll imagine the version of you that is as amazing as they could be. And then you look at yourself and realize that you're failing. It's the reality. And you'll sit there and go, fuck. Now, when you feel anxious, there's only one thing you can do. You can either sit there and be anxious like a little girl and be worried about it, or you can put some things in action. I was nervous before every single fight, and that's when I fought the best, because I was afraid. I was afraid of losing. And you need to be afraid of losing day by day throughout your life. You know who your enemy is, you know what he's doing, and you're losing day by day. Now, if you go to the gym and you beat your personal best, let's say the most you've ever benched is 100 kilo, you go there, you bench 105 kilo. The days you beat your personal best are the days you've beaten this individual. That's the only day you're allowed to claim a victory. If you beat your personal best, you can claim a victory. I went there, I did more than I've ever done, I beat this guy. But if you're not beating your personal best, he is beating you. And that should inspire you to try and smash through your own records day after day after day, the most money you've ever made in a month, the most weight you've ever lifted, the most girls you've ever spoke to. It doesn't matter what goals you set. You have to understand you're going to spend a lot of time losing. And all this time you're spending losing is going to damage your ego, and that's going to make you anxious and unhappy and nervous, and you're going to put all that nervous energy into smashing your personal record so you have those days of victory. Everything compounds. What most people don't understand is they think that life just changed overnight. Everything compounds. People say to me, oh, Tate, how did you become successful? I can't tell you the one thing that made me successful. I was always driven, motivated. I understood how to make good connections. I looked after the people who looked after me. I always knew what the right thing to do was. I didn't drink for many years of my life. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. But I did do this. And it all comes together to success. It's not about one thing. A lot of people go through life with a very average attitude to life, and they wait for their one big break. Yeah, maybe you'll get it, but that's not the reality. If you're hoping for a big break, you may as well just keep buying the lottery tickets. You have to build your big break. And you're going to do that with 1,000 tiny victories. It's a change of mindset that's going to allow you to put together 1,000 tiny victories. And the change of mindset is simply understanding that there's a version of you that exists somewhere in the multiverse, which is much better than you are right now. They're the same star, the same genetic composition, but they are destroying you in every measurable metric purely because they don't get lazy, don't get tired, don't watch TV, don't waste their time. They have an iron mind. And that person is going to become you now. That is who you are fighting against.
The natural state of man is a competitive state of man. Men have always been competing with each other. Even now, right now, we compete with each other. I don't buy Ferraris to drive fast. I do sometimes, but if I'm in London traffic, it's not to go quick. No. It's to show everyone else I'm richer than them. That's what it is. It's a never-ending competition. I don't wear a big diamond Patek with fucking $500,000 to tell the time. I tell the time on my phone. I do it because I'm loaded. And this is actually what's interesting about the world, because the world's changed. Men used to go to war and fight each other in physical combat, and now we don't because we're more civilized in some regards. That's violence is still the bottom line of society, but we try and avoid it. Men are constantly doing combat by showing each other how we can move world with money. We're constantly in combat because of our status. 99% of what men do is for status. We want to be in good shape for status. We want the fast car for status. We want the nice house for status. We want the diamond watch. We want the hot girl. This is all for our status. Look at me. I'm the big dog. This is how we compete with each other. If you're going to be a dude who pretends that's not true, or be a dude who doesn't want to compete, your life's going to fucking suck. There's no light without dark, and there's no joy without pain. You can't have a rainbow without a little rain. Exactly. And no matter how hard you chase pleasure and happiness, there's going to be dips and troughs in between. There's going to be come downs and downtrends, and you're going to have the juxtaposition between that time you were laughing your head off and acting giddish like a child, and the time that you feel depressed as such. And I think it's much better to just adopt a very disciplined, stoic mindset. I'm always the same base level of happy regardless. If I lost all of my money today, I would be the same happy. If my net worth quadrupled, I'd be the same happiness. Yeah. As long as I am alive, which is a struggle, unfortunately, in the current climate. But as long as I'm alive and the people I care about and love are alive, and as long as God gives me the honor of doing my duties and providing for the people I care about, as long as I get to wake up and know that there's a whole bunch of people in the world who need me, and I get to work hard to please them and do good for society and good for the world, then I'm a vessel of God, and I'm happy enough to survive. That's all I look at it as. I don't ever consider how do I feel. That doesn't cross my mind. I have things to do. I have things to do.
You're too busy to think about that.
I'm too busy. I have things to do every single day. I have very important things to do, and how I feel really is not going to affect how I complete those tasks.
Right.
And when I speak to men, they say I'm unhappy or I need to be happier. I think that's absolutely the wrong frame of life. You're a man, you have duty, you have honor, you have things you should be doing regardless of how you feel. And the people who are perma-obsessed with happiness or sadness, I just think it's the wrong paradigm to view the lens of life. I think you should get up and do what needs to be done.
We talked about this started with an attack on masculinity. I think the reason there's such a large men's mental health crisis is because of the attack on masculinity. When you tell people with an innate desire to be masculine, whether it's God-given, whatever, like you said, they have innate desires. We're all born with innate desires. God has told us some things are just wrong and some things are just right. And you have an innate desire to act a certain way, and then society is telling you that if you act that way or if you have those desires in any way, you are a bad person. That's where the men's mental health comes from. That's where all these men are sad and depressed, is because they're like, you know what? I'm not supposed to want to just get big, get strong, get important, get a hot girl, get a nice car. I'm not supposed to want that. I'm supposed to want this. This is garbage. And they sit in this middle area. The happiest people I know are people who are unapologetic. I'm just saying, yeah, this is what I want. This is what I do.
How I feel has absolutely zero bearing on how I live my life. I'll do the exact same tasks with the exact same vigor, whether I'm happy or sad. I still want to win. Think of every bad decision you've ever made and see the emotion involved. Your mind must be stronger than your feelings. The point is this. If you truly want to win, you can't only want to win when you're happy, and you can't only want to win when you're motivated, because you're competing against people like me who want to win all of the time. And unfortunately, it's player versus player. Every single girl that you want, every single dollar that you want, I also want. You're competing against men like me who will perform even when it's raining, not only when the sun is shining. And if you're going to be the kind of person who can only do it in one of those scenarios, you are going to lose. You must be prepared to perform all of the time. I have a lot of people who message me and say, oh, I struggle with motivation. And my answer is simple. Then stay a loser. If you can't find the motivation to not be a loser, then I strongly recommend you just stay a loser, stay in your lane, and stay out of my way. Yeah. I have no time for people who cannot find the motivation to fix themselves and fix their own lives. I've been the kind of person who will perform 7 days a week. Doesn't matter how I feel, doesn't matter what's happened, doesn't matter if I'm happy or sad, things must be done. And this is the mindset you need to adopt if you want to be a winner. Absolutely everything that happens in your life, whether it's good or bad, is completely your fault. Not enough people take responsibility for their lives completely. So if you're watching this, I want you to very seriously do this. This is a serious exercise. Take responsibility for your life. I want you to get a pen and a paper and write down everything good in your life, everything you're grateful for and thankful for, and everything bad that's happening to you in your life. Perhaps you have a job you don't get paid enough. Perhaps somebody at your job doesn't like you and is being horrible to you and is preventing you from getting a promotion. Perhaps your girlfriend doesn't listen to you. You have a bad relationship. Everything in your life is completely your fault. Please understand, as a man, the key to being successful is building a formidable mindset that makes you ultra and hyper competitive in a very competitive environment. Now, competence and the ability to perceive the world as it really is, perspicacious and understanding the truth of the universe, is certainly a key element in terms of becoming a feared opponent and understanding the world and being competitive. However, there are certain scenarios, there are certain times in which you don't have to be concerned with being right or wrong. You must be concerned only with being as competitive as possible. This is the idea I try and teach people inside the Matrix when I say, I do not believe depression is real, and they try and convince me it's real. I don't care what science you come up with convincing me it's real, because if I believe in depression, I am more likely to become depressed. If I don't believe in it, it cannot affect me. I cannot become depressed if I do not believe in depression. So by extension, my mind is more competitive. I'm a more feared opponent. I'm more dangerous if I don't believe in depression. That's why I've created my mindset to be as competitive as possible. You must understand that competitiveness as a whole is the baseline for masculine experience. Every dollar you want is wanted by other men. Every female you want is wanted by other men. You are competing against other men your entire life. Even when you walk into a room, instantly you are measured and sized up and down, and you are competing. So for this reason, you must understand that you must build a mind that allows you to compete day after day at the highest possible echelons and be successful. Build a competitive mind. Now, to do that, you must self-analyze. Everything in your life is your fault. By accepting everything in your life is your fault, it makes you more competitive. If you believe that things just happen to you or that bad luck just comes and you can't affect it, you're not as competitive as someone like me who believes that everything is my fault. If it rains tomorrow, I am responsible for the rain. Do you understand? You may think I'm crazy, but I'm not, because I could have looked at the weather forecast and flown to another country to avoid the rain. There is always something I could have done. I could have packed an umbrella. I could have planned to go driving on another day when it's not raining. Everything is my fault all the time. I have absolutely not self-responsibility and accountability, which allows me to become as effective as possible when I'm facing my problems. When the enemy, when the problems appear, my Aikido is max level 1000 because I am self-analyzing permanently. Everything I do is self-analysis. I get asked all the time, well, what do you feel? Or what about happiness or depression? That doesn't even, how I feel doesn't cross my mind. I don't know how else to explain it. There are days where I'm pissed off or sad or happy. It doesn't cross my mind. It's just like, I woke up, whatever mood I happen to be in, I have things I need to do. It's a busy day. Zuby's here soon. I need to go training before he gets here. I had a meeting with the bank at 7:15 a.m. I have shit to do. Like, I didn't cross my mind if I was happy, sad, excited. I just had to work. So I think my mental model, to a degree, I'm certainly not a person who doesn't feel emotions because we're all human. I certainly do. But I've never prioritized them in any regard. I haven't built a mental model that affects, I haven't put them in the middle of my mental model and then affected my actions based on how I feel for each one. It's absolutely and completely the opposite. I would love to do a podcast on a day where I'm particularly sad and a podcast on a day when I'm particularly happy. And I guarantee you wouldn't be able to tell the fucking difference. So that's what allows me to be competitive, right? Because if you're competitive, if you want to be the most competitive predator on the planet, you have to be able to hunt in the day and the night. You have to be able to do both. You have to be able to perform when you're happy and sad. You can't only be able to perform when you're happy. You can't only go to the gym when you're motivated. You can't only be a competent person when your life's going well, because when your life's not going well, you're no longer competent. Then you're going to lose to people like me. And it's player versus player. If you're the kind of person who can only do well when you're happy and you're competing against someone like me who can do well all the fucking time, guess what? You lose. So my mental model, the answer is most of my opinions are just based around constructing a mental model that allows me to be brutally competitive.